All right, what's up, everyone? It's Aztec 101. I'm back, and I was gone for a little bit. Went on vacation, visited Hawaii, had a blast, and now I'm back. Now I'm back, excited and ready to go, make more videos and talk about boxing. One of the biggest fights coming up is obviously Canelo versus Triple G. I am very excited for this fight. I'm excited on so many levels. One, all the people that got to say for the past, I would say 7-9 months, maybe a year, saying that the fight will never happen. Saying that this is something that Canelo's too scared to fight Triple G. They get to eat crow. They get to eat crow, and I know that they will never admit that they were on that side, but that seemed very possible that this fight would never happen in the eyes of a lot of people. With me, I saw all the signs that the fight was gonna happen. It was just a matter of when. And this honestly came at the perfect time. This is a great year for boxing. It seems like this fight is really setting the tone because next year we're not going to want to hit below the bar. We want to raise the bar next year. So we don't want to look back 5 years later and saying, "Damn, I wish it was 2017 again." Because we haven't had a year like that, you know what I mean, in a long time. I don't want that to happen. I want this to be the beginning of a new trend, right? And this is honestly one of the biggest fights going on this year. What's up, Insane Fighter, Zapata Boxing, El Nopal, Castellanos. What's up, guys? Thanks for showing up. Thanks for showing up. I got Canelo. I got Canelo. Rascalot, what's up, dog? What's up, guys? Man, this is an exciting fight. I got Canelo, but I wouldn't bet my house on it. One of the things with this fight that I don't hear really too many people talking about is that this is our generation's, kind of Hagler Hearns. That's what it is. This is our version of it. Not the same. They're not as legendary. I'm not trying to draw parallels other than this is what we got right now. This is the closest thing we're going to get to a legendary 80s fight. This is the type of fight that we're going to remember, we're going to talk about, and it's good for boxing. The middleweight division is a historical division. I think it's the oldest division in boxing. The middleweight division. Not the heavyweight division. Want to know why? Because the average American isn't fucking 200 pounds. Well, maybe now. Maybe this generation's average American is over 200 pounds. But but we got a different type of heavyweight walking around now. Back when this fight, when the fight game originally was building up, late 1800s, early 1900s, the middleweight division represented the average American. That's what it did. It represented the average American. So when you were able to watch a fight, you wanted to see someone that kind of represented what you could do. That's where a lot of this heroism and almost, legendary status, mythical god type shit that we put up on some of these fighters, where they're not just like baseball players, some baseball players, football players, they receive status like, yeah, they're the best in the game. But we put fighters on another level because this represents what it's like to be a man in the wild. If it was one-on-one, if you're stuck in a room with someone that wants to take your head off, what are you capable of doing? So this is the most masculine sport that you have on the planet. On the planet. Let's see here. I'm going to look at the comments. Insane Fighter. He's looking pretty big. Let's see here. Triple G is a little overweight a few days ago. You know, Triple G, he's not, it's not where I'd like him to be, but you know, muscles won't win you fights, man. That, I mean, it really, what this looks like is how focused and how determined is he to win. If shit gets fucking, if Canelo goes in there and starts working him, will Triple G have the endurance, the athleticism to be able to keep himself in the fight? You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm hoping that this overweight is him trying to hold on to as much water weight as he can, and then he lets it all go, you know, a few hours before the fight or the day before the fight, and then he's able to regain all that weight back, you know, during the fight. And then at the end of the day, your body does utilize fat for energy. So, you know, having a little bit of fat on you isn't always a bad thing. But Triple G does look a little hefty. He's not as defined. He's not as ripped as he used to be. But he is getting older, you know what I mean? Let's see here. "401 Sinatra, you're saying Canelo's taking Triple G's head off." Yeah, bro. Yeah, that's what I see. I see Canelo going in there and making it look a lot easier than what it was, what it should be. Do not be surprised if Canelo makes this an easier fight than what it should be. Oh shit, from Jalisco. Canelo could gas out early though. Insane fighter. I don't know. I don't think he has that endurance problem. You know what I mean? I think that he's shown in a lot of the fights that he's in that in the 11th, in the 12th round, in the championship rounds, he's still sharp. He's still trying to finish the fight. He's still there. He's not easy to get hit. And he's fighting smaller guys that have a much higher punch output than Triple G. You know, Miguel Cotto moves at lightning speed compared to Triple G. Triple G's got pretty fast hands for a middleweight. You know what I mean? But when it comes down to who's making Canelo work harder, well, super middleweights and welterweights do move a lot more. They do move a lot more. And he's able to keep up with them. Boxing fan, what's up, dog? Canelo versus Triple G gonna be a good fight. Absolutely, man. I think this is gonna be a great fight. I think this is gonna be. There's no way this fight can go wrong, man. And I hope there's no bullshit on the fight. I don't want to see any bullshit. But if this is a clean fight, from the action in the ring to the scoring to the judging to the referee, if everything's clean and how it's supposed to be, this is going to be a legendary fight. We're going to be talking about this for years, you know, because anything can happen. Canelo's never touched the canvas. He's never touched the canvas. If Triple G is able to put him down, even on a knockdown, that's impressive. There's a lot of firsts in this fight. A lot of firsts. The first to lose, the first to get knocked down, the first to get knocked out. You know what I mean? We've never seen these two fighters really in danger, and this could be the first time. All right, guys, let me see here. Trying to keep up with the comments. Boxing Junkie, what's up, dog? Boxing fan says, I favor Triple G beating Canelo by split decision. Yeah, man, this is a pick 'em fight. Really, it's a pick 'em fight. I'm going with Canelo. Um, I think Canelo moves a lot better than Triple G. Uh, right now, I think that Triple G's biggest weapon will be his power. So that's my biggest concern is, can Canelo take a punch from Triple G? And that doesn't just mean punches to the chin or anything like that, but even punches that don't count, punches to the shoulder, punches to the top of the head, punches to the body. Can he take that kind of power? Can he take middleweight power? You know what I mean? That's my biggest concern. And but other than that, I think Canelo has better reflexes. He has faster hands. He has better defense. He has better head movement. He fights better on the inside. He jabs faster. He jabs sharper, and then he works off the jab a lot better. Almost every aspect of the game, maybe except for closing off the ring, but they're not fighting Lara, so it doesn't fucking matter in this fight. These guys are going to be two bulls going head to head. So, that's really where I think Canelo shines is all the other things. But as far as power, that's the only advantage that I give Triple G. Size and power. Let's see here. Zapata Boxing. This is going to be Canelo's first middleweight fight. A real middleweight. Junior was not a real anything. Well, yeah, Zapata Boxing, you're right. And you know what? I'd rather have gone this way. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather... Because could you imagine if this happened right after Miguel Cotto? Canelo would have had zero experience with anybody bigger than him. Zero, nothing. Right? So after Miguel Cotto, he took on some of the smaller guys like Liam Smith, Amir Khan. Then he fights someone like Chavez Jr. And I get it. I get it. People say he's not a real anything. But, for the longest time, Chavez had an all-star team behind him. He had an all-star team. He was in the best shape of his fucking life. He was at 100%. And he couldn't do shit in there. He couldn't do shit. I don't know what kind of Chavez Jr. that was, but I've never seen Chavez Jr. outclassed like that. Where he looks like he doesn't belong in there. And I don't know, man. I don't know. How much of that is how bad Chavez is, and how much of it is how good is Canelo? Is he that good where he can make Chavez look like that? Let's see here. Someone is going to get knocked out, insane fighter. It's not going to decision. Right. True, but Canelo's weight is deceptive, nevertheless. That's right, Castellanos. He's compact. He's a small little guy, but he carries his weight. He's like a little Mike Tyson, man. That's what he is. And it's funny though. I remember watching fucking Canelo fighting at welterweight. I know he started at light welterweight. And to see him develop to how he looks now is insane, man. It's insane. Huge progression. But it's taken a long time, He did it naturally. You look at him. Look at him when he was fighting at welterweight. Completely different look. He looked completely different. He doesn't... Now he looks fucking... He looks ready for middleweight. Even a few years ago, even when he fought Lara, when he fought Floyd, the frame that he had, it was still too small for middleweight. Way too small for middleweight. He was weighing as much as, you know, Trout was in a fight. You know, on fight night, he would come in weighing as much as Trout, as much as Kirkland. Even though there was a lot of people saying that he was, oh, he looks too big for that division. Fucking retarded. The referee would look bigger than Canelo. Are you guys serious? No. You know, at one point, Canelo, he was just a small, short guy. And yeah, he looked stocky. But at the end of the day, he would come in weighing just as much as Angulo, Kirkland, Trout, Lara. You know what I mean? Zapata Boxing says Canelo will show up at 180. 180 pounds. Possible. Possible he could show up at 180. I heard according to Shady Slim, Canelo's going to show up at 210 pounds. According to him, he's going to show up at half a ton. I keep hearing the weight go up, though. Let me see here. Tubes. What's up, man? Who is the biggest puncher Canelo has fought? And the biggest puncher he has fought is what? 50% of what Triple G has. Tubes. So pretty much you're saying that the Triple G has fought bigger punchers? Yeah, probably, man. Yeah, that's probably true. He's fighting at middleweight for his entire career. Triple G has been fighting at middleweight. So of course, yeah, he's been fighting bigger punchers. He hasn't been fighting better fighters. He hasn't been fighting, the whole package isn't there, man. Look at Lemieux. Lemieux probably pound for pound, he's probably a bigger puncher than anyone Canelo has ever fought. Right? Lemieux. But he doesn't know how to parry a jab. He can't defend against a jab. He's the biggest puncher, but he's a terrible boxer. I wouldn't say terrible. I would just say he's not a very good boxer. So yes, Triple G has fought bigger punchers. Of course. Of course. But guys, not guys with technique. And when he finally did, Jacobs a pretty good boxer. He's a pretty good boxer. He's not the best, but he's pretty good. And when he fought someone that's pretty good and can punch, oh, look what happened. His knockout streak went out the window. And then two, you know what? With all that power that Triple G has, when is the last time anyone has seen Triple G put someone to sleep? I've been watching Triple G since Gabe Rosado. Since before Gabe Rosado. Since he fought the Asian fighter that beat Kirkland. I forgot his name. But I've been watching him for years. For years. And I cannot remember the last time Triple G has knocked someone out cold. I can't remember. What's up, boxing comments? What's up, guys? Fora Sinatra, Triple G has fought bigger punchers, but Canelo has been dominating with more skilled, slick boxers. That's Triple G's weakness. There's a reason he avoided Lara and Ward. There you go. Very good point. Very good point. You know, Cotto isn't as big of a puncher as Triple G, but he moves a lot better. He moves a lot better. He's actually more of a boxer, more defensive minded. He doesn't let his opponent just hit him in the face for show. You know? He counters, he moves, he finds angles. He's lighter on his feet. Lighter on his feet than Triple G. And I'm sorry, if Canelo can counter and check left hook, Cotto from a distance, who's a smaller target and moves faster, I think he's going to land at will against Triple G. Again, do not be surprised if this is a much easier fight for Canelo than you guys would imagine. Tubes, no one knocks people out at top level. Well, tubes, that's what I'm trying to tell you, man. There's no one at top level that Triple G has fought. You get what I'm saying? Like he's not fighting those fighters. Triple G, you can say he's fought bigger guys, you can say he's fought stronger guys, guys that pack a bigger punch. But technically, fundamentals, skills, basic shit, fucking being able to defend a jab. He beat Lemieux with one hand, a jab. Are you serious? That is a testament to the skill level and the differences between the opponents Canelo has had and the opponents Triple G has had. The only legit opponent on Triple G's resume is Danny Jacobs, which was a questionable win. Aside from that, everyone else was a walking punching bag. Triple G has never been the underdog while Canelo has. 401, another solid point. There you go. That's what I was trying to say. You know, Triple G has had a phenomenal, career at middleweight. He's never tested himself against opponents that are bigger than him. There hasn't been a fight where you go, hey, you know what? This might be the time that Triple G loses. There hasn't been one. Not since except Daniel Jacobs. And now Canelo. And at the end of the day, if Triple G wins, his best win will be Canelo. That's it. That'll be the end of the story, man. That's going to be his best win. Aztec, stop bringing up David LeBum. Please stop. Well, hey, man, I'm trying to say, man, that he can't fucking stop a jab. Lemieux doesn't know how to stop a jab, bro. That's all I was trying to say. Ramon Correa. Ramon Correa. What's up, bro? I keep saying the same thing. If he made Cotto Trout miss, how's Triple G going to land? That's a question, man. I don't know how Triple G is going to do it. He's going to really have to use his feints. He's going to have to use his smarts. He's going to have to set traps for Canelo. Whenever I hear people saying that the most important thing that Triple G can do is win the jab game, and it's like it's going to take much more than that. Much more than that. Much more than that. Because if he misses that jab, Canelo's going to capitalize on every mistake. He's going to have to make Canelo move at Triple G's pace. He's going to have to set the tone. He's going to have to set traps. And feints are going to be very important. Making sure that Canelo is where Triple G wants him to be, or is going where Triple G wants him to go. Because it doesn't matter how fast you are. If you know where you're going, you can time it. And yes, timing does beat speed. So a lot of the times, it's good to be able to control your opponent's movements. And, Triple G has the smarts. He's been in the ring. He can do that. So that's another advantage Triple G has. But Canelo has that too. Very great with feints. Being able to control his opponent and then capitalizing on after the opponent moves, he's there to land his shot. He's really good at that. Really good. Let's see here. Winner has to be number one pound for pound over Ward, in my honest opinion. Tubes. I like both guys. Winner takes pound for pound number one spot. That's a good question, man. Does the winner of Canelo versus Triple G take the number one spot, pound for pound? I mean, it'd be very hard to argue if Triple G beats Canelo. There might be some people saying, well, you know what, he was fighting a smaller guy, blah blah blah. If Canelo wins, and he wins convincingly, there might be a better argument with him. You know, he moved up. He fought someone bigger than him. Dangerous guy at 160, beat him. You know, yeah, you got to put him next to Ward. I can understand that. But I have a higher standard for Canelo. I still want to see more fights from Canelo when I say Canelo is number one pound for pound, I want it to be without a shadow of a doubt. Like, there's no argument. You know what I mean? So I'm going to hold off on putting Canelo number one pound for pound anything until, you know, there's more to his legacy. And I just have a higher standard for the fighters. You know what I mean? So, but if people put him as number one pound for pound, I wouldn't argue with it, but I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of backlash if you have Canelo go over an undisputed champion, or Canelo go over, you know, the winner of Lomachenko and Rigo, or if you have, you know, Triple G, you know, with this win go over someone like Andre Ward, who moved up to fight Kovalev. So you're going to have a lot of people argue, well, this guy doesn't deserve to be number one pound for pound. He's not as good as XYZ. So, but at the end of the day, I guarantee you HBO is going to use it. Ring Magazine's going to put him as number one. Then you're going to have BoxRec have him as number one. So it's going to happen, but there will be a lot of people that will disagree with it. Let's see here, man. Trying to catch up to the comments. I'm gonna fast forward here. Hands of Stone, Lemieux and Jacobs beat Canelo. We'll see. After Triple G, they can be next. We'll see. You know, it's easy to say that now. You know, there's a lot of people just come out and say, "Oh, this guy wins." Well, that's because you know that fight isn't on the table yet. You know, Charlo beats Canelo for sure. Lemieux will knock out Canelo. All right, man, we'll see. We'll see. Because they're all going to be next in line. And Canelo's still young. You know, there's plenty of coffins left, and there's enough bodies to put him to fill them up. So we're going to see these fights. Let's see here. I'm fast forwarding a little bit. I'm sorry if I skip your comment, but I'm going to try to go over some of these. Rascalot. If Canelo wins, European boxing fanboys will say Triple G is past his prime. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. And it won't just be Europeans. There's a lot of Mexicans going for Triple G. Like an insane amount of Mexicans going for Triple G. There's a lot of anti-Canelo propaganda in Mexican media. Like a lot of it. A lot of it. You know, the term media darling, like for some reason, the media fucking hates Canelo. I mean, yeah, when they walk up to him, they treat him all nice, they ask him all the right questions. But then when they go back and write their articles, there's always some sly fucking shit that's in there. Always. Let's see here. Boxing comments. Canelo has been rocked by Cotto's brother, but turning pro at 15 probably gives him more experience versus tougher opposition. Yeah, that's right. It puts him in a position where he learned on the job. You know what I mean? And you see this in everyday life. I mean, boxing is a skill, and just like any other skill you learn, you know, there's two routes you can take. You can go to school and you can study and learn the trade and then go practice it and get a job and work your way up. Or you can start from the bottom and just work your way up and learn the trade as you go. And who's to say what route is better? You know what I mean? Yeah, sure, Golovkin has a lot of amateur fights. A lot of amateur fights. And he's been very successful. Canelo has pretty much zero amateur experience, and he went pro really early, really young. I mean, we're gonna find out. We're gonna see if that's a good idea or a bad idea. And at the end of the day, it seems like it was not really an option to go amateur. You know what I mean? Not every boxer has the benefit of having a family that has enough money that can support you through your amateur career. So when you're 15 and you got to go pro so you can help pay the light bill, you know, that's a different type of hungry, man. That's just a different type of hungry. Let's see here. Most people don't even agree Canelo is a top 10 pound for pound. I know. They'll put Errol Spence before Canelo. You know? And that's a good point, John. That's a good point. You know, I've seen a lot of fighters go above Canelo, and he's the one that's proven himself the most. It's the one that's taken the most risks. And if you look at his resume, I mean, honestly, he's probably one of the closest things you have to some of those old school fighters that fights everyone. You know, and he's able to do that while still being an A-side, you know, an A-side type fighter. Because you see with other A-side fighters, they pick and choose who they want to fight. And it's very difficult to get them in the ring. Like, look at Floyd. I mean, for the longest time, people wanted to see him against Manny Pacquiao, and it took a really long time to get him there. And then he comes back and he fights an MMA fighter instead of fighting one of the top welterweights that are in his division. And he gets an easy knockout and a KO for his 50th win. And everyone knew about it because you can tell, everyone was telling the fucking MMA fans that McGregor had no chance. So everyone knew. Everyone knew this was a bullshit fight. But still, you know, made a lot of money. Insane fighter, it's Canelo's skin color, bro. You know what time it is. Yeah, it's the redheaded syndrome, man. For some reason, people around the world don't like redheads. That red hair just fucking pisses people off. It's like showing a red blanket to a fucking bull. You know, and he's an interesting looking Mexican because you don't expect a Mexican to come out looking like Canelo, you know, red hair, pale skin, freckles. You don't expect that coming from Mexico. A little bit of history, just want to throw it out there. The Irish have a lot of, and I don't know if Canelo has Irish heritage, but I'm just assuming based on how he looks. But the Irish have actually an interesting history in Mexico. During the Mexican-American War, American Irish soldiers, so soldiers from Ireland that were now in the United States fighting for the United States Army, they dropped their weapons and went to Mexico to help fight the United States. So they joined the Mexican Army because, you know, they felt compassion for the cause of the fight. There was a lot of similarities. You know, Mexico being mostly Catholic, Irish being mostly Catholic. They felt there was a connection. Their soldiers, those Irish soldiers, bravely fought, and they're actually, you know, they're historical figures in Mexico. The battalion is called Los San Patricios. If you guys look it up, Los San Patricios. And they fought in the Mexican-American War, and they're highly respected. Brave fighters. Let's see here. Ramon Corriega, we all have Aztec or other native blood. Yeah, the Aztec, Mayan, there's different tribes. There's hundreds of tribes. When I went to Mexico, I think they told me there's like 1,000 dialects in Mexico alone. Um, different languages, different people, different looking people. Um, we have a much broader connection to people from around the world than we've been told. And yeah, man, it's insane. It's insane. Rascalad, damn those Irishmen. Canelo has to have some indigenous blood. Of course. Of course he does. You know what I mean? Look at all his brothers. They don't all look the same. You know? They don't. Look at his dad. His dad is mestizo. You know? But his mom's fair skin, red hair. And having kids, you know, is not like mixing paint. It's not like if you mix, you know, yellow and blue, you get green every time. You know, your genetics, you have different options. I mean, you might not have blue eyes. You and your grandfather, your father, you may not have blue eyes, but you may still have that blue eye gene hidden somewhere. And if you you know have a kid with a woman that also has that blue eye gene, shit, there's a good chance that your kid might come out with blue eyes, and it might not be the first kid. It might be the fourth kid. You know what I mean? All of a sudden you get a fourth kid and he's got red hair and blue eyes, and you're like, what the fuck happened? Start looking at your wife all weird, like, I want a paternity test. What the fuck happened? Boxing comments, raza cósmica. Yeah, that's pretty much the concept of that idea, that book, that phrase. It's funny, when I went to Hawaii, they have a lot of sweet potato. That's part of their diet. They eat sweet potato and different types of sweet potato. You know, they had purple ones, blue ones, orange ones, green ones. But fun fact is that for those of you who don't know, the potato is originally from Peru, or the areas of Peru and South America, Central America too. And the Polynesian culture, which they traveled all throughout the Pacific, you know, at one point there's a theory that they actually did reach South America, around where Peru is at. And they probably traded a few items, and that's how they were able to bring back sweet potatoes. And you get sweet potatoes in Hawaii and in these Pacific islands. And it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. It's something they don't really talk about, but we don't really learn too much about, you know, Samoans, Polynesians, New Zealand, this Polynesian culture that traveled around the Pacific, you know. 401, I'm out of here. Got to get back to work. One last time before I go, shout out Jalisco for your boy. That's right, man. Viva Guadalajara. That's it. That's where my grandma's from, man. So I got family ties to Jalisco. One of the reasons why Canelo caught my eye. But, you know, I always saw it like a hometown team. Natural selection. Oh, Boxing Junkie. Peace out. All right, later, dog. Boxing comments. Natural selection, according to evolution, says those species who mix and interact with other species and environments become superior in survival of the fittest. Yeah, man. And we're, you know, there's no other species of human. You know what I'm saying? Like, there isn't. There isn't. Mixing and blending and doing all that, that's all natural. It should be done. We're all human. It's not unnatural. It's not like mixing a donkey and a horse and you get a mule. You know what I mean? You're not getting a different animal. So we should be mixing. That's probably one of the biggest reasons why we're not evolving, is because we're isolating. And the way we are evolving is through inbreeding, pretty much. I mean, just really think about it. You know, when people are isolated within their own race, you know, let's say you take a small town and you get people that know each other, and you fast forward for 1,000 years. If those people aren't eventually migrating out of that village, and they stay there and they're just breeding within, eventually you're gonna be fucking a distant cousin. That's the only option you're gonna have, is having a distant cousin to fuck or something like that. And it's gonna be inbreeding. You know what I mean? Different form of inbreeding, but you're gonna have it. And it's one of those things where it's much better to just be around where there's diversity. That's, to me, that's the best option. That's where you have the most fun too, because you get to learn from other people's culture. You get to absorb other people's history, other people's way of living, way of thinking, and it's all positive at the end of the day. All right, later, Zapata. Boxing comments. I got 2 weeks left on my vacation. Are you doing anything on your vacation? You guys doing anything? You know, this is going to be a good week to be, you know, not have the responsibility of school. This is a good month. We got Cuadras fighting. We got Canelo, Triple G, which, you know, I'm excited for. I can't wait till after the fight. I'm so confident Canelo is gonna win that I can't wait. And even if he doesn't win, still, I give Triple G my props. I like Triple G, and you know, I'm not the biggest Triple G fan, but I like his style, man. The guy is he's a funny guy. He's quiet. I think a lot of people shit on Triple G because of his fan base. Tends to be a little bit just a little bit too much. You know, they get a little bit carried away. They cross the line sometimes. So, I mean, I can't blame Triple G for that. Can't blame Triple G for that. Basically babysitting, studying, waiting on my next internship. All right. I bought some Canelo gear. It's not cheap. No, homie. No, it's not. I tried looking it up. And I was like, do I really want to spend $50 on a hat? I don't know if I want to do it. You know what I mean? But, yo, dog, I don't know if you got a swap meet where you're at, but they're going to have Canelo gear for sure, dog. Just go to the swap meet. You'll get that shit for, you know, half the price. It may not be, you know, the real shit, but who cares? All right, so now another thing I wanted to talk about is I'm excited for this fight because I'm happy that Canelo is fighting on a Mexican holiday. I remember I was thinking about this a little while ago. I remember when Canelo was trying to get those holidays, and he was challenging Floyd. Floyd would usually fight on Cinco de Mayo or Mexican Independence in September, and Canelo wanted those dates. And I remember a lot of people were giving Canelo shit for it. Could you believe that? You know, the guy was trying to get, you know, Mexican holidays. He's Mexican, and for some reason, I've never seen this before. A fighter specifically picking the days of a specific ethnicity. important days of a specific ethnicity and only fighting on those days. So it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Having Canelo bring it up, it was one of those things where it shouldn't have been a big deal, but when Canelo brought it up, people's reaction to me made it seem like, holy shit, wait, this is a big deal. Let's see here. Salido is at a great position across the division. Mandatory Loma and Burchell as well as the next possible opponent for a vacant title. That was stripped from Davis. Yeah, he's in a great position. Salido's getting older though. He's getting older. He's got a few fights left. I don't see him pushing through 2020. And so he's got a couple years left for sure. I think that Lomachenko might be the best bet, might be the best fight around. But who knows? If Lomachenko ends up fighting Rigondeaux, then Salido might get a shot at Rigo if Rigo wins. And I favor Salido over Rigo. I think Salido has a better chance of beating Rigondeaux than Lomachenko does, to be honest. So it might be good for him to stay there, maybe get that belt that Davis lost, and just be ready to fight either Lomachenko or Rigo. Salido is 2 wars away from retiring. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Salido always gets burnt. Yeah, man. That's why he's demanding he actually get paid $1 million or more for this fight, and he's earned it. He's earned it. You know what I mean? And it also depends if Lomachenko wants to fight Salido. How bad does Lomachenko want that fight? Because if he really wants to fight him, pay him what he needs. If it's important to Lomachenko to revenge that loss, he needs to go in there and actually try to get the fight. So it all depends also on Lomachenko, because Lomachenko can always fight Mikey Garcia. He can move up. So it's kind of hard to hold Lomachenko down to Salido. Salido needs to, get in where you fit in, man. It's either you won that fight, but just hold your ground, demand that $1 million, and if he really wants it, he'll pay you. Castellanos, do you guys think Canelo is bulking up or just cutting weight? That's hard work, bro. That's what hard work looks like. He's bulking up. He's bulking up. He's bulking up. He's growing into his man's body, grown body. So he's got, he had a lot of time to work with it. Fighting at 155 probably helped him make that transition. And now that he's at 160, he looks clean. I think that fight with Chavez helped. It helped give him that training ability, like that ability to get into a fight with more weight than you're used to. And not having to cut as much weight. That was a good way to test what his boundaries are, how he moves, how his athleticism looks, his endurance. And come to find out, Canelo, that motherfucker stood up for the entire fight. He didn't take a seat. Not one round in the corner did he decide to sit on the stool. He spent his whole time on his feet. So that shows that he's getting really comfortable with his weight, and it's all coming naturally. Let's see here. Red Fox, what's up, man? How's it going? Canelo rehydrates to his 170s. 170, 175, in between there. I think Austin Trout was at 173 when he fought Canelo. That's a super or junior middleweight, rehydration. You know what I mean? But then again, a lot of the weight, like, it changes, it fluctuates. There's no way that a fighter who, like, let's say you're sweating and you're exerting a lot of energy, you're gonna lose weight between round 1 and round 4. You're gonna lose weight. You're gonna lose weight. So, they're not gonna stay within that. They hold the water just long enough, but then they sweat. They sweat it out. And a lot of it is it's not muscle. You're not losing and gaining muscle within the 24 hours or fat. You know what I mean? It's just water. That's the only thing you're putting back in is water. So I think Canelo is bulking up. I think he's building more muscle. Building more muscle, has less body fat, and he looks the same, but he looks more ripped, which shows that he burned a lot of fat and he gained more muscle. It looks like he's doing it naturally. Let's see here. I think Canelo makes weight easier than Triple G because of youth. Oh, it's going to be way easier for Canelo because he comes from a smaller division. And I think it's easy for Triple G, though, because he's been doing this his whole life. You know what I mean? I don't think it'll be difficult for either fighter. I think this is... I don't know. I really don't know if Triple G's been struggling. I mean, I've heard of him kind of mention 168 pounds. So maybe he might want to move up to that weight division. Maybe he is having problems making weight. Maybe that is why he looks a little big. You know what I mean? I don't know. Canelo looked bigger against Cotto. Well, I mean, that's when you stand him next to Cotto. Cotto isn't a big guy, man. Cotto isn't a big guy. I think Canelo looked just as big against Kirkland. You know what I mean? And Canelo looked just as big as Kirkland. Like, Kirkland and Canelo kind of have the same body frame. It's the same thing. I don't see too much of a difference at all between Canelo and Kirkland. How do you think that fight went? I had Canelo. Let me see. These comments disappear really quick. How you think the fight went? I had Alvarez winning, landed the more effective punches. You're saying Cotto versus Canelo? I think that was a very good showing of Canelo's skill and defensive awareness. I mean, completely different fight than Cotto versus Floyd. Cotto was very aggressive, putting Floyd along the ropes. He was very effective with his jab. Cotto's jab is what was winning him rounds against Floyd. Him finishing his combo with the jab. He was able to land some sneaky punches in there. And he had, Floyd along the ropes. He kind of roughed Floyd up. At that time, that was kind of one of the toughest fights Floyd has been in. And now Cotto fought Canelo, and he wasn't able to do any of that, And Cotto moves really well. He moves really well. Very good boxer. But I think Canelo was landing the bigger shots. I mean, obviously, and I wasn't judging the fight based on just the bigger shots. But even when it came down to ring generalship, who was in control, I think that Canelo was more effective, more accurate. Therefore, when he would throw a punch, it wouldn't just land, but he also got himself out of the way effectively. It just seemed like he was more in control of the fight. If I were to pick, and it was very easy. It's very easy if you think of it this way. If you're to decide who would you rather be in that fight, would you rather be Canelo or would you rather be Cotto? And at the end of the day, I would rather have been Canelo. I would not have wanted to been at the end of Canelo's punches the way Cotto was. Let's see here. Canelo only lost to Floyd all his close fights. He won by at least a point. There's no question that he beat Trout. To me, I feel like anybody that says Trout beat Canelo has some explaining to do. Because how the hell is a guy that's missing all his shots and gets knocked down winning the fight? I need an explanation. It makes zero sense, right? Then you got the Lara fight, which was very close. And if you see Lara winning that fight, I don't have a problem with it. But at the end of the day, the fight went to Canelo. And in a close fight like this, I always hear people say, well, it's not a robbery if the fight is close. I always hear people say that, but it's always conveniently with only certain fighters. But in this fight, Lara versus Canelo, they openly call it a robbery. There was no robbery there. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. Lara looked like he could win that fight. But he didn't fight. He didn't fight. And it'll go back to asking the same questions. Who would you rather been in that fight? Lara or Canelo? And I would have rather been Canelo. I would have rather been Canelo. I would have eaten those little jabs that he landed every now and then. And I would have been satisfied with landing those brutal body shots and making his forehead bleed from an uppercut. I would have rather been the guy giving the damage than taking the damage. And it looked like Lara was taking bigger shots. I mean, there was a point where Lara was freaking hit with the right hand and he pretty much flew across the ring. Let's see here. I had Lara winning also until I watched it again. That bum Lara was running, doing nothing. Rascal. Man, I'm telling you that fight was there for Lara to win. And leading up to the fight, I'm sure you guys have somewhat of an idea of how the public was viewing this. They were saying Canelo was going to go to Cuban school. He was going to lose. He had no chance in this fight. He's too flat-footed. He's slow. He doesn't box well. He has no chin. He has no skill. Everything was supposed to be exposed in that fight. And it didn't go that way. The fight was fucking close. And I think that pissed a lot of people off. And at the end of the day, you can't get mad at anyone else but Lara. Because the fight was close. The fight was close. It shouldn't have been that close. So with all the hype that was going behind Lara, it should not have been that close. And that actually kind of shows, Lara, he's got this amazing amateur pedigree. Canelo has absolutely no amateur experience. I mean, he probably has 4 or 5 fights or something like that. But, you know, and Canelo was still technical enough to be able to land his shots and go to the body. Very smart. He didn't start headhunting. Some fighters would continuously try to go after Lara's head. But he went after the body, and he didn't stop. He was persistent. And that's, you know, when people say Mexican style, if there is a Mexican style, it's attacking the body. It's the liver shot. It's slowing down your opponent. You know, the Mexican fighter might not be the fastest fighter, but how fast are you when you get hit to the ribs for 4 or 5 rounds? You know what I mean? Let me read some of these comments. A lot of people don't realize this, but not KOing Hall of Fame like Cotto and Mosley have given Canelo lots of experience. If he would have just KO'd these guys, he wouldn't have gained anything. And that's true. That's 100% true, man. 1,000% true. A lot of people saying, well, Canelo couldn't even knock out Cotto. It's like, well, if he would have gone in there and knocked him out in 1 round, 2 rounds, he doesn't learn anything. He went 12 rounds with experienced Hall of Fame fighters, and he beat them and he boxed them. You know what I mean? That's how you learn, man. That's how you learn. And you got paid for it? Fuck, it's a win-win. Let's see here. I thought Canelo was gonna get schooled, but he surprised me again, like Trout. He surprised me too, man. I'm not gonna lie. You know, he surprised me too. I think he surprised a lot of people. I thought it was an uphill battle for Canelo, but I knew he had a chance against Lara. Like, a lot of people were writing him out, saying there's no way he's gonna win. There's no way he's gonna win. There's no way this is gonna be a close fight. And Canelo made it a close fight, a very close fight. And you know, with Trout was a little bit different. With Trout, I thought Canelo might lose that fight. Like, that's kind of what flipped me. I thought Canelo might lose that fight. And that's because I was listening to all the people say, he's never fought anybody at 154. He's never... Once he fights a slick fighter, you're going to see how bad he is. He's slow. He's flat-footed, da-da-da-da. Right? And when I saw Canelo fight Trout and be that defensive and that effective, and then show still his counter-punching skills against a fighter who's fundamentally strong like Austin Trout, I was going, well, this guy's got the goods, man. This guy's got the goods. And that's what kind of led me into thinking, like, well, he can beat these guys. Lara, all these guys, he can beat them. And I could still feel that way when, you know, if you bring up other names. And that's all experience. So we're seeing Canelo improve, get better. He's using different techniques, different looks. 2019 to 2020, Canelo versus Hurd, Charlo, Saunders, Andrade, and Rod Salka's brother. Rascalot, damn, that means Foreman had a Mexican style. Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, this is in the boxing history books. It is in the boxing history books. Trainers started realizing that Mexican fighters were using the liver shot. They were really going after the liver shot. It wasn't really popular to go after the liver shot. There was a lot of headhunting. A lot of headhunting. Sure, they would go to the body, but what was really interesting was how Mexican fighters were attacking the liver. They were attacking the liver. And trainers would take that technique back to their home country, that being the United States. And they did teach their fighters how to utilize that skill. Aaron Pryor got a killer Mexican style. Mexican style comes from the come forward, never get hit, go under block, pivot, never retreat, never quit. But many people have misconceptions that it means rock'em sock'em robots. Well, I mean, like, the thing is, yeah. Look, Mexicans, we have this warrior pride. Like, we have that as part of our history. It's just part of our history, man. You know what I mean? It is what it is, and we take a lot of pride in it. And we do tell the stories to our kids, and we do teach them that they're warriors. We do teach them to be tough and not quit. Don't back down. It's not just in the ring. It's life lessons. You know, if they start swinging, you bob and weave. Don't stand there. Don't get hit. You know, you grow up around Mexicans, and you do realize that you will get called out as an idiot, pendejo, stupid, quick, if you do stupid shit. It's not okay to be stupid. You know what I mean? Willie Pep was a slick Italian fighter. Well, yeah, Rasclot. I don't know if you know this, but you know, there was I forgot the if there was an exact fighter that came from it, but um, you look at the slick bobbing and weaving that came from Jewish fighters. Jewish fighters, and you got to understand, a lot of people were not liking what Jewish fighters were doing because they were moving around the ring, bobbing and weaving, making, you know, the British fighters miss. And a lot of people had, you know, they already had racial feelings towards the Jews, and it was kind of, you know, a negative thing back then too, to be that kind of defensive fighter. And you know, those Jewish fighters became trainers and taught to, you know, black fighters, Italian fighters, showed them how to bob and weave, you know, and that's, you know, it's just based, it was based on their physicality too. The Jewish fighters were, you know, like Asian Mexicans, you know, they weren't big people, they weren't going in there and had the size advantage, you know, they worked with what they got, and they were fast, they were sharp, and you know, they developed this style, you know, where it used to be just this come forward, brawl style, clinch and brawl. Um, Boxing comments. The golden age of boxing had seen its, had seen an evolution of the elusive technique. Well, right, and you're right. Fans would prefer to see a knockout, and that's never changed. You know what I mean? Fans did prefer to see a knockout, and it was very difficult for these Mexican fighters to go out there and play defensive games. But, you know, there's so many different styles in Mexico. These fighters, they fight differently. And when you go watch a fight in Mexico, even the guys that are unknown, they all have their different styles. And these are styles that you see in the United States and in Eastern Europe. The way that boxing has exchanged information is really a beautiful thing, man. Really a beautiful thing. It's connected worlds together. you guys got to understand, man. The slick, elusive fighter, also was that type of hit and not get hit style. You know, really came from Cuba, or not didn't come from Cuba, but it's been big in Cuba. It's been big in Cuba. Obviously, Cuba, Mexico, South America. There was a lot of trade back in the days, and sailors would come from different parts of the world, and a lot of them liked to fight. And guess what? Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, we also like to fight. So they picked it up and they started learning. And it was at a lot of these shipyards where the boxing technique came to South and Central America. And the Cubans were really good at developing their amateur pedigree for a very long time. They've been doing this forever. And fundamentally, they're very, very good. But they've also been migrating to Mexico for the longest time. A lot of Cubans end up coming to Mexico. And there's a huge... there's probably a lot more Cubans in Mexico than there are in the United States. I'll tell you that much. You know what I mean? And so in Mexico, yeah, you would get fighters come in. They're Cuban and then they turn Mexican, and they start training in Mexican gyms, and information gets exchanged. So you got that style and that influence in Mexico too. It's not strictly in Cuba. And look at where Cuba's at. You know what I mean? You think that style is only in the United States? No, it's in Mexico too, man. Pretty Boy was untouchable, but May was boring. Well, Pretty Boy was younger. Pretty Boy was a younger man. You know what I mean? Everything changed. Everything changed. And would he have been where he's at now, being Pretty Boy Floyd? Money Mayweather got him to where he's at, so he had to take on that persona, and he fought according to his age, man. If you guys play sports, you get into a time where you start realizing, like, okay, I can't perform today like I performed yesterday. I used to play soccer, and if I walk into a game with an injury or something like that, or I feel that my legs are giving out on me, I have to play smart. I have to make sure I put myself in a position where I'm not working as hard. And even basketball, I remember, there used to be this gym that I would go to, and I'd play basketball with these older cats who were college players. They played in college, and some played in UCLA. They played in USC, and they were really good players. But they're older, they're slower. I was much faster, much more athletic, but their fundamentals allowed them to be way more competitive than anybody that was in my age, because they just had it down packed. And that's kind of what it is too, is it's not always your athleticism or your youth or whatever. A lot of it is your technique, but it's not as exciting. They're not going for a layup. They're not really trying to strain their knees or run around and chase after the ball. If they don't have to, they won't. So that's one thing that with Floyd too. He got a little bit older and he got a little bit smarter, and he just played with what he had. Top 5 styles: Chavez, Tyson, Floyd, Juan Manuel, El Finito. Those are great styles. Those are great fighters. They're great fighters. Chavez had a style, but the media had a way of describing his style. The media really turned the Mexican style into something that's very negative for us. The way we see it as Mexican Americans, we take offense when it's used kind of to discredit how smart we are. You know what I mean? Like, the way they used to say that he's the type of guy that takes 2 punches to give one. Not true. It was not true. You watch Chavez, and he's a defensive fighter through and through. You know, he moves his head, but he gets into wars. You know what I mean? He gets into wars. And there's a lot of great defensive fighters that get into wars. It happens. You know what I mean? Make a video on my top styles of boxing. I could do that. I could do that. You know, it's a little bit difficult though. You know, it's a little bit difficult because every fighter has their own attributes, man. Every fighter has their own attributes. You know, and again, I don't see the Mexican style as that come forward, brawler, tough. You know, I don't see it that way. I don't see it. I see it as the Mexican style is technical. It's using body shots to slow down your opponent. It's using timing rather than speed. It's using footwork. It's using ring generalship, not backing up, not putting yourself in danger. It's smart boxing, you know, just like you would learn anywhere else. But the most important thing is obviously utilizing that liver shot. You know, but historically, I mean, you look at come forward fighters and things like that, they come in very different shapes and sizes. Henry Armstrong, one of the legendary fighters in the world. He's a come forward fighter. I mean, if he was coming around today, you could say that he's Mexican style, right? According to people's definition of what Mexican style is. But you know, at the end of the day, like I said, you know, that's just I think the come forward depends on and all that, you know, whether the fighter decides to step forward or step back. I think it depends on the fighter's personality, their personality. At the end of the day, that's where the style comes from, is the fighter's personality, and you know, they create an identity in the ring, and that's how they act, and you know, it's just who they are, who they are. Too many fighters to pick from. Yeah, too many fighters to pick from, and then too many fights where fighters switch up their style. You know what I mean? There's fighters that adapt to a certain opponent, and you know, they might not have the same style in every fight. And I think it's it's like, I guess you can easily just go, you know, this person is this type of. There were a lot of people saying that, let's say, let me think. There's people saying that trying to think of a fighter here. Devin Alexander, right? There are a lot of people calling him a slick fighter, but I never saw it that way. I didn't see him as a slick fighter. I didn't think he was slick at all. I thought his defense was okay, but it wasn't great. It wasn't great defense. And I don't think he was that sharp. I mean, at times he did look really sharp, but then sometimes he looked, you know, sluggish. So it was weird. It's weird to just call that guy a slick fighter. That doesn't make any sense, because he's not that. He wasn't quick on his feet. You know, it's weird. It's weird. Like, you look at Floyd. Floyd, you could say he's slick, but he's flat-footed. You know, I used to see Oscar De La Hoya jump around the ring a lot more delicately than Floyd. Floyd plants his feet. He's flat-footed. He fights very flat-footed, but he's still slick. You know what I mean? And you know, there's fighters that have great footwork, and they're still not the fastest fighters in the world. I don't know if that makes sense, but Floyd's feet weren't always the fastest. What he utilized was everything around him. So his head movement, his distance, his timing, his reflexes, all that worked in one package where, you know, he didn't have to rely on his feet so much. Mexican style is fake news. El nopal castellanos. That's true, man. That's true. It's fake news. It's fake news. We don't. Mexicans don't have a style. They don't. They don't. We have techniques that we've developed and used, and it's not like we're the ones that discovered it or anything like that. But it gets tied to Mexican boxing, and that's, like I said, the liver shot. The liver shot, and that we have that, but we don't have a style. There's different ways to attack the liver. There's different ways to get inside to the body. You could utilize your jab. You can just come forward and be aggressive. You can, back them up against the corner. You can, outbox them from the outside and work your way to the body. And there's different ways, but they're all seen in different styles. Fuck. Nacho forced Juan Manuel to engage as a technical boxer because Juan Manuel was an elusive fighter, somewhat like Cuadras. I always thought that Juan, like, Cuadras he's elusive, but he's very aggressive. He's a very good counter puncher. Just like Juan, and I think that's where they have their connection, is their the way that they set up their punches. They like to counter, and they're very good at it, very accurate. But even though Manuel was a bigger opponent, like a bigger type of fighter than Cuadras, I think Juan moves way better than Cuadras. His footwork is brilliant. It's fucking brilliant. The angles he gets, he literally moves around like Pacquiao, but he fights different. He's not as reckless, and but he can get aggressive. He can get very aggressive. Nacho Bernstein, I think, has done really well with Juan, but I wish Juan was a little bit more open to different trainers working with him. But hey, and you know what? I've always been upset with the way he works the corner, the information that's given to Marquez. I think it was the third fight between Manny Pacquiao and Juan, and there was a moment where we're getting to the 9th round, 10th round, and I think it was Bernstein telling Juan that he was winning the fight. And I remember yelling at the screen going, "What the fuck are you talking about? What are you doing? Don't tell him that. Don't tell him that he's winning the fight. Tell him that he needs to win another round. You don't know what the judges are going to do." And sure enough, even though in my eyes I knew he was winning, I knew what the judges were going to do, and I thought it was a bad idea to give him that information and tell him, "Oh, you're comfortable. You're well ahead of the fight. You're fine. You're fine. You got this in the bag." You don't tell him that. Not in the championship rounds. And then I remember I saw Juan moving around the ring and boxing, outboxing, not engaging, and I was like, fuck, man. And he lost that fight. That shit's insane. Let's see here. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna head out. I've been on here for about an hour and a half. But thanks for coming on. Yeah, Boxing Comments. Thank you for showing up. El Nopal Castellanos. I appreciate you guys being here, and I'll do some more videos. I'll do another one tomorrow. Maybe I might be too busy to do it tomorrow, but from Wednesday on, I'll be fine. I'll have plenty of time, and I'll do some more live streams because I want to talk about Cuadras. I want to talk about Chocolatito. There's some fights coming up. I think Kid Chocolate is fighting at 168. I don't know when, where. I kind of want to cover the Margarito fight with I think it was Carson Jones. So there's a lot to talk about, a lot of things I want to cover. But till next time, This is Aztec 101 in the ring, and I'm out.